What's up guys? So this video is going to be pretty short and sweet. Lightroom actually released an update a few weeks ago that added some new features and they're actually pretty useful. So I'm just going to jump into Lightroom, show you what they are, show you why you would use them and just explain it a little bit. And today's actually Canada Day, so happy Canada Day to all you Canadians out there.
Woo! I'm also here.
Christina's behind the lens. Alright guys, so now that we're in Lightroom, I'm going to show you the new features that Lightroom's brought out. There's really only two of them I'll probably use, and I think most people will probably be more interested in these two, because the other few things are kind of more cosmetic. Like they've changed their little logo here, which I'm not sure if I like it or not, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. They've also changed in the tone curve, they've changed these little icons. Probably makes things a little easier to click through rather than having to, I think the old method was clicking down here or something and picking your color, but it just makes things a little bit easier to see and to transition between. And they've kind of done the same thing with the colors in the HSL panel as well. Just different little icons, which doesn't really make much of a difference. But one thing that I think I'm going to find quite useful, and I think a lot of you guys will too, is they've added a new overlay to the crop tool. I'll just show you, it's easier to explain it that way. So obviously once you go to crop your image, normally you get the kind of rule of thirds look, and that's the one I've used. I haven't really switched to any of the other ones, but if you hit O, you can change it, and you have this one and also this one, which is kind of ideal for if you want to get something perfectly centered in your frame. It just happens that this picture of Christina, I did a very good job of centering this. That is almost perfect, but that's exactly what it would be used for. If you weren't sure, you want to crop down a little bit and you want to make sure Christina's in the center, I can very easily place her on that center line or get her directly in the center with both lines if I want to. And that is something that you couldn't really do as easy with, especially the rule of thirds one. It was a little trickier to center things perfectly, but that is pretty damn handy. There's a lot of other ones, but those are the two new ones. This one's quite handy too, because again, you can pretty much center her perfectly, but I feel like this one is the one I'll probably use a little bit more for centering things. Yeah, pretty simple little feature, but also quite helpful if you really want to make sure stuff is centered. Other feature is one that I think a lot of you guys will probably use and probably get a little bit excited about. And this new feature you can use in the graduated filter mode, the radial filter mode, and also the adjustment brush. So there will be a few different uses for this next feature, but one that I will probably use it a lot of the time for is, let's just say you take an image and you put a preset on it and you feel like the skin tones just don't look correct, but you feel like you like the tones in the rest of the image, so you don't want to change everything. Let's just say the background's quite green, still looks kind of cool, but Christina's skin tones are off. What you can do is go to the brush tool, and I think I've already kind of selected most of Christina's face, so let's select this one. I can now make hue adjustments to just that selected area, and that is the same with the graduated and the radial filters, whereas before you would have had to come down to the HSL sliders and change things that way, but that would mean that you're changing the hue of that color for everything in the picture and not just one thing, which was a little bit annoying. This feature is something that people would do a lot more in Photoshop, but you can now do it in Lightroom, so makes things a little handier. But Christina's skin looks a little bit green here, and I've selected most of it. Obviously if I was doing this properly it would be a little bit neater, but I can simply drag the slider one way or the other and kind of even it out. If you take the fine adjustments box, it just means that it doesn't move as quick, so the adjustments are finer, like it says. You can bring it back towards red a little bit and then it starts to begin to look normal. Obviously you can type in the exact value if you want to get really precise with it, but just to show you, I'll just fiddle around with it a little bit. Already you can see that that looks way better. I'll put it on and off and you can see that before it was green, now it looks a lot more normal. So yeah, very neat little feature that they've added, and something I feel like I will use a lot, especially on skin tones. I feel like most of the time with this new feature I'm probably going to use it with the adjustment brush, but you could also use it with the graduated filter, for example on skies and stuff, dragging down and changing the hue of the sky a little bit to possibly teal or whatever it is that you like the look of. One other thing that I probably will use it on is changing the color of, for example, Christina's jacket in this picture. I actually quite like the color of it, but if it was something slightly different that I didn't like, what I could do is draw over the entire jacket, which I will do right now, and I'm not going to bore you to death with watching me do it, so give me one sec and I'll draw over this. Okay, so now that I've completely selected Christina's coat, not the greatest, but it'll do for this example, I can go back to my hue adjustments. I can now completely change the color of Christina's jacket. And let's see what we can do. Pretty damn cool. That is not something you could really do before in Lightroom, so it's quite a cool feature. Obviously the red jacket probably looks the best in this scenario, but if she had been wearing something a little bit more orangey that just didn't look as nice in this background, I could change it to red and just makes the picture look a bit better. You can literally change it to whatever color you want. There's a few areas that I haven't masked out properly, as you can see, but it does a pretty good job. And once again, if you want to be really precise, then click the Use Fine adjustment. And that is something I do see myself using quite a bit. Probably more so in the skin tones, but if there is certain things in a picture that I feel would look better a different color, for example the jacket, then that's definitely something that I would do. And I feel like a lot of people would probably use this. Instead of taking stuff into Photoshop all the time, you can do this in Lightroom, which just makes your whole editing process a little bit easier. And that's really the two main features that I feel like would interest you guys. There is a batch exporting feature which they've added. I haven't really used it yet myself, but I believe you can export with different presets. So you can almost export a picture which is ready for Instagram and then a picture that you maybe have settings set to upload to your website or something at the same time instead of having to export twice. But I'm not going to try and explain that because I haven't used it myself yet. These are the two main features that I feel like I'm going to use, and the rest of them, like I said, are pretty cosmetic stuff. But let me know what you think of their new logo. Would you prefer it or do you rather the old one? I think I probably prefer the old one, but again, doesn't really make a difference to your photos. Hopefully this was a little bit helpful. Maybe you didn't know about these features. Lightroom constantly does different updates, so it's kind of hard to keep track of what they're adding sometimes. But hopefully that explains the new features a little bit, and I look forward to trying them out in some future pictures. So there you have it, guys. Short and sweet, like I said. Just for any of you who maybe didn't know about the new features or weren't quite sure how to get them or how to use them or what they did, hopefully that was helpful. We will probably use them quite a bit because they're quite useful. But that's pretty much it for this video. Just wanted to jump into that and let you know exactly what it was all about. And I think I'll end this one here. Might be the shortest video I've ever done. Anyway, as we always say, guys, take it easy.
Don't be a stranger.